I had a big car crash in 97 and I just got on with life. The delusion was convincing myself that I was okay. A bunch of things then happened 10 years down the line. It's like, actually, I'm not okay. And I haven't done a good job of processing that.
The bomb incident was August 2001 in Ealing. And on the 9th of September, a company that I'd worked for, two companies I'd worked for, I knew had offices in the towers. So between those two incidents, I wasn't very well. I came home.
I think it's brilliant the amount of support there is for people now to get to work through these things if they can, if it's possible. Welcome back to the Change Show here with Simon Phillips and my special guest Shamaine Lei-Robinson. Shamaine, lovely to see you. How are you doing?
Lovely to see you again. I'm really good, Simon. How are you?
Excellent. Now, we've just been talking about this infamous Welsh weather, haven't we? I thought it was only Wales that got rain all year round, but apparently I was in England this weekend, and they've had it pretty much the same as well. So it must be spreading.
Well, as a girl whose family is originally from Manchester, where it literally does rain 365 days a year in Manchester, yeah, the Welsh have got a bit to learn about this wet stuff. That's why Noel Gallagher always walks around looking so miserable.
You're probably right. So, Shamaine, where in Wales are you again?
I'm in Porthcawl, so just outside Bridgend.
Magic. Yeah, that's not far from my birth town of Barry.
Oh, you're a Barry boy.
Barry boy.
Barry Baidos. Barry Baidos, they say it?
Yeah,
you're the home of Gavin and Stacey.
Exactly.
You're the home of Gavin and Stacey, and I'm the home of Ruth Jones.
Ah, fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, there is a shop called Barry Baidos now in town in Barry, just doing all of the Gavin and Stacey memorabilia. So it's an industry.
Well, they used to, I think before pre-COVID, they used to do a Barry Baidos festival, like Glastonbury.
Oh yeah, it's called Glastonbury.
Glastonbury.
So there's a Gladstone Park, and Glastonbury is
where they hold it. Hey, Barry's gone up in the ranks.
Definitely.
I know.
Definitely.
It's very expensive to buy property in Barry now.
See, I leave and everything flourishes.
I know that feeling very well.
Exactly. So, Shamaine, tell the listeners and the viewers, tell them a little bit about yourself. What have you? What's your journey been like through the years? You can condense it if you want, but what have been the key highlights?
Yeah, how condense it? That's a good one, because as Simon knows, I can talk for Britain. So my current job role, which I have to remember because I'm talking to year 15s on Friday, and I didn't tell them what I did last week, is I'm a business development and strategist. And that has come from a mixture of two things. I was in corporate. I ended up in London. I worked in factory. I did the usual thing, left school with I did have qualifications. The problem was I was supposed to go to college. This is a long story. I was supposed to go to college and I didn't. So I ended up in factories in the heyday, earning some really good money, to be fair. Sat there and was like, this cannot be my life. Ended up in London as a nanny. I don't like being bossed around. Yeah, I went to live in a proper millionaire's house. He's an estate agent in North London called Martin Gerrard, and he's still there. Because I was talking to somebody the other day who knows him quite well. I said, ask him if he can remember me. I'm sure he will. Went to London as a nanny, and then couldn't really come home from London. There wasn't an option to come back to Wales. So I stayed and did the whole corporate, ended up putting myself through Chartered Institute of Marketing, ended up working for places like Coca-Cola and HSBC. Everybody goes, oh, and I go, shit pay, really bad pay, not the best paying companies actually marketing as a profession. Yeah, marketing as a profession is not a well-paid job in any way, shape or form. Got pregnant when I was told medically I couldn't, and I sat there. I was working in the city at the time at a private bank, and I was like, I can't work 18 hours a day and bring up a son. So I bought a franchise. I bought a car spraying franchise called Chips Away. Invested really heavily into it.
See what you did there.
I wasn't bad at it, to be fair. I was doing all right, but then I was in a bomb when the IRA let a car bomb off outside. I damaged my back, ended up moving home, back to Wales. I say home because actually my family's originally from Manchester. Ended up moving back to Wales, and nobody would employ me. everybody was like, "You've left like some of the biggest brands to go and be self-employed. What are you going to do?" And then I got involved with an organisation called Business in Focus, and they were like, "You're pretty good at this marketing and business lark." So yeah, that sent me down the route of helping small businesses with marketing at a time in Wales where they could get it all for free from the Welsh government. So that was interesting. So I was like, I need to find a way to market myself that's going to bring in some money. So I suddenly changed my USP to, "Do you want more sales and more leads?" And all of a sudden everybody was like, "Yes, please."
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing pretty much on and off for nearly 20 years
Very
now.
good. Wow. So
That's
20
the
years.
condensed
Well,
version.
I'm just slightly more than you. I set myself up on in 2000, so just a bit more than you.
See, I went self-employed in 2000. My franchise was 2000.
Right.
Because my franchise was 1999.
Oh, look at that.
And
Beat me
then
by.
the bomb incident was August 2001
Right.
in Ealing, and on the 9th of September, a company that I'd worked for, two companies I'd worked for, I knew had offices in the towers. So between those two incidents, I
Life
wasn't
change.
very well. I came home. Yeah,
It's amazing how those things affect us. So, how long do you think you were impacted by that, emotionally, at least?
Emotionally, I think it's forever, because they
Mm,
labelled me with post-traumatic stress disorder.
yeah.
And then there was an incident with my son. I've got an autistic son. There was an incident with my son about 7 years ago, and they upgraded that to complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So I have to be really careful with being around police officers. I can spot a
Okay.
police officer and I can I know, even if they're out of clothes, I know they're a police officer.
Yeah.
So I have to be really careful around the police, and I have to be really careful with like big bangs. I'm not too bad now, but a lot of the generation won't remember, but cars backfiring.
Mm,
We have a firework display where we are every week in the summer, and sometimes I forget that it's a Tuesday. That's interesting.
right.
Literally fly off the settee.
Wow.
So things like that, yeah.
I was being interviewed by Trisha Goddard recently, and I framed it as post traumatic stress delusion for me, because I had a big car crash in '97, and
Ah,
I just got on with life, if you like. I was
yeah,
part of that generation
yeah.
you'll
You just
remember
got on
where
with it.
just get on with it, just get on with it. And the delusion was convincing myself that I was okay.
Yeah,
But actually, a bunch of things then happened. 10 years down the line, it's like, actually, I'm not okay, and I haven't done a good job of processing that. And then, so I think it's brilliant the amount of support there is for people now to get to work through these things if they can, if it's possible.
yeah. Because the biggest thing I had was I rebelled against my diagnosis, because I come
Hmm.
from a really strong military family. I actually applied to be in the army, but they weren't
Hmm.
recruiting women at the time. And my father was a Royal Marine, and my uncle was in the Royal Navy on the Ark Royal. And my
Yeah.
cousins have all served in Belfast and the Falklands and stuff like that. So to be labelled with what was then deemed to be a military disease, I felt quite insulted, and I didn't tell my
Yeah.
family for ages, because I was like, I didn't want them to go, "Oh, she's only jumping on the bandwagon." It was
Yeah.
only probably 7 years ago, when my son got into trouble with the police, I actually thought to myself, "This is not good." I was
Hmm.
like you just got on with it. I just got on with it. And then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, this is not good." This is not good. Yeah.
There's some work to do here.
Yeah. Yeah. At a
Yeah.
time where I couldn't do any work, because they was trying to support him through being
Hmm.
interrogated by the police. That was interesting. And going to court. That was interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love your use of the word interesting. I won't dig any further unless you want to
Well,
go any
do
further.
I've learned this because back in the heyday when I used to do an incredible amount of networking, and I'm very black and white. It took me years to understand I was autistic, and I had to watch my language because if somebody started approaching me that I really didn't like, I was like, I don't like that person. People were like, you can't say that. So the code was, oh, they're interesting. And everybody, people who knew me would like jump
Yeah,
in and start talking to them because they were like, that's a signal that Shamaine really doesn't like this person and they shouldn't.
time to move on.
Yeah,
Time to move
this
on.
person's really interesting. Not.
So, you've had your former marketing business, now a sales and leads
Yeah.
generating business.
Yeah.
What is it you get up to on a day-to-day basis then? Is it literally just that, on a sort of a call-off almost, I'll get you more leads, I'll get you more clients?
It's marketed as that. And my marketing has not been the best this year, but I had really bad health. It's marketed as that, but predominantly the key core of the business is belief work. So it's like because you do similar work. It's really easy. Strategy and business is really easy. But if you don't believe that it's going to happen, none of your offers will convert, none of your advertising will work. You'll actually repel people. So I think I learned back in the heyday when I was networking that you had to kind of pull people in with what they think they want and then give them what they need. So, and then I tend to find like I do a lot of calls on a Monday and it seems to follow a theme. So today's theme has all been about self-care and looking after it, like boundaries. Actually, I've talked a lot about boundaries today, even down to the fact that one of my mentors got us to really look at what the activities that we do during the day. And one of the things I do is I will say to myself, I'll make a cup of coffee and then I will sit down and do that thing. So I'm trying to get this client today to understand that every time she says, I'm going to make a cup of coffee, it's actually a self-sabotaging technique. Because actually, by the time you get back to your desk, you don't actually do the thing that you said you were going to do, but you've still got your cup of coffee. And she said, I'd never really thought of it that way. And she says, I have about 10 cups of coffee a day. And it was like, it's like you're letting your boundaries go. She did burst into tears, which is not what I wanted. But I tend to do a lot more of that work. And then the traffic and leads and sales come in quite naturally. I do work more predominantly with women, and women will tell themselves a really shitty story about they hate sales or they can't do sales or sales is nasty. I was on one of Dan's calls about 2 years ago and he said, when was the last time you were ever in a high pressured sales environment? And none of us could think of anything like this. He said, it doesn't exist anymore. He said, unless you are like buying unless you've specifically said, I want this thing, and then you're going into high pressured sales. So yeah, a lot of it is belief work. Definitely. I try and stay away from mindset if I can.
Well, that's okay. You can give me a shout if it's mindset. I'm all right with that. Yeah, no, you're absolutely true. The belief is where it all starts, and that's where, if they've got access to someone like you, then people can really make amazing breakthroughs, can't they?
Yeah, I have my backstory. There's not much in this life that I haven't been through. So when people are using it, like that's the other conversation I've had today. People really fight for their stories. Yeah, but Shamaine, you don't understand it in my business, like in my sector. And I'm like, there's no sweetie pie. There's nothing precious about your sector. It's like in there, got the t-shirt. It's like there's nothing special about your sector. It's happening across the board, and they're like, because they will. The human body, is our ego is set up to protect us. Yeah.
So you and I met or connected through the Great British Entrepreneurial Awards, because we're both up for an award this year, aren't we? So that was
you were really proactive. You reached out to everybody. All the rest of us
see,
each other going, "Who are you?"
That's that networking background. You see, I can't help myself. So what is your angle on this, if you like? What sort of aspects of your business do you think are set up in such a way that it's being recognised for the Purpose Award?
I think it's probably because predominantly, even though on paper it looks like it's a sales and marketing business, my core framework is unlocking your potential. And I think everybody, in any way, shape, or form, whether you sweep the streets, clean the toilets, or run the country, is here for a purpose. And it's getting people to understand that when, some people, to me, there's very few people I see are actually in alignment with their purpose. Most people are fighting it. And I understand that, especially if you're married and there's kids. You can't exactly walk in the house and go, I'm giving it all up to be off grid, unless you're in the middle of a pandemic and then everybody else is on board.
Yes.
But I understand the complexities of being able to and actually saying to your friends group sometimes, I don't want to be a solicitor, I don't want to be a doctor, I don't want to be an accountant. I want to sit at home and make. Actually, stories just popped into my head. There's a colleague of mine who I haven't seen in a long time, and she was very big marketing. She was. I think she was the head of marketing for either Admiral or something like that. And she just wanted to mess around with jewelry, and she wanted to be a silversmith. And every time I saw her, the joke was that she left her job and she went and trained. She went down south and trained as a silversmith. But every time she sees her dad goes to her, how's that hobby of yours? And she says to her, she used to say, I haven't seen her in a couple of years. And she used to say to me, I cannot get my dad to understand that I earn like quadruple the amount of money that I used to earn. Yeah. She works on commission. Everything she does is commission based. So a necklace off her could be £5,000. Yeah. And it was just like we're living in an age where you don't have to do the job because you think that's what is available to you. You can create, even if the job doesn't exist or that sector doesn't exist, you can create it. And it's getting people to understand that they have the ability to. Well, me and one of my best business friends, we say life comes down to two things. You've got choices and you've got stuff. You have to have a set of choices, and there's a set of stuff to do. And sometimes there's just stuff to do and there's no choice. It's like, your tax return. You've got to do, the tax return's got to be done. And if you have to do it, you do it. If you can choose to have an accountant to do it, that's your choice, isn't it? So we're always messaging each other going, so what day are you having? And it's like, some days it's choices and some days it's stuff. We grew up in a generation of the elite went on holiday to Australia. You had to be like the vice president of an organisation to be going to Australia for 2 weeks holiday. Whereas in reality, me and you could say, let's pop to Australia for a week and see what work we can find. Yeah. And we, by this time next week, we could be on a plane to Australia if we really wanted to.
It's back to belief again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's belief. People don't appreciate. We're not taught in school. I'm on a government project and we go into schools to talk to children about that they do have other choices. It took me a really long time to understand that hustle and hard work is not going to make you rich. Because I left school in the 80s, worked in the 90s. The world was our oyster. We could do whatever we want. But the tagline was, put your head down and work. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Yeah. Work 18, 20 hours a day and you can have everything you wanted. Whereas actually, success is an internal game. Yeah, it's like you have to be in alignment for what you want. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. But I love the idea of stuff and choices as well. I often, if I'm kicking off a workshop, I like to say, hopefully, there's a bunch of objectives, but if you just choose one, hopefully I'll land one of them at least today. I don't like to overpromise. So, stuff and choices, that keeps it nice and simple.
I keep saying I'm going to write. I keep saying I'm going to write my book on choices and stuff. Yeah. Because it is just That's what to me and my business bestie. That's what it boils down to. You've got some choices. You've got sometimes it's together, sometimes it's independently, sometimes they work on their own. But yeah, choices and stuff.
Shamaine, have you got, if somebody's listening and they're thinking, how can I get started? Because you said you work with a lot of sort of startup, small organizations. Yeah. They've got a great idea, but maybe they don't have any belief because they've been in a full-time job for all their career, or they've been on in caring duty for the last 10 years for whatever reason. Yeah. And now they want to get going. What would be your top tip?
What would be my top tip? Do not go and ask a banker what to do. Because when I first started out, I did a lot of work with self-contracting work with Business in Focus, which is a government-run agency. And the thing with bankers is bankers will take you down the route of you need a business plan, you need a marketing plan, and you've got to get your ideas on paper. You need to jump on something like Eventbrite or Meetup and find a tribe of people who are doing something similar to what you want to do and connect with those people, because not everybody should be privy to the conversation that's in your head, because you're probably sitting on a gold mine and everybody around you they can't compute at that level. So the minute you open your mouth, they will talk you off the ledge. They were like, what do you want to do that for? Maybe you need a qualification. Like, nobody else is doing that. Where have you got? You've watched that program, didn't you? You got that idea from that film, didn't you? Don't be so ridiculous. It's only on Netflix. Whereas you need to find probably 2 to 3 people who will protect you, who get you, who understand you, who become your go-to people, who when you talk to them, they're behind you 100%. So like your cheerleading group. And those people are out there, and you can find them in the randomest of places. You'll find them at a networking meeting. You'll find them dipping in the sea. You'll find them sitting at, like, you're just like, they will be there. But those are the people who will make sure that. And actually, Google some people. Like people like. I've mentioned it already. We were talking about Dan Priestley from Dent. People like him. Now, sometimes it's quite difficult to access those people because they've built up an authority. So to get into those people is quite difficult. But if he was just at a business festival called Ideas Fest, you could have taken yourself off to Ideas Fest for 3 days. He walked around. You could have spoken to him. He would have been open to having a chat with you. Put yourself in that environment. Find out who's doing awards in that sector. If nobody is doing awards in that sector, run your own awards in that sector, because people will come out of the woodwork, because people want to feel. We are predominantly wired for safety. Our reptilian brain it wants to protect us, which is why when you tell your partner that's the thing you want to do, they won't. We've got a mortgage to pay. Don't be so stupid. That's a pipe dream. You can't do that.
And there's a lot of those people that you mentioned, so family, friends, partners, part of their safety consciousness is also to protect you. They will genuinely believe that the things that they're suggesting to you are going to help you and support you and make sure you stay safe. And actually, being safe may not be the route for you.
They're not doing it from a malice point of view.
No.
Don't get me wrong. I have seen friends shoot some people's business ideas out just for pure jealousy. They're doing it because their safety mechanism is to look after you. And if they've not been self-employed, you have to if you want to be self-employed or you want to be an entrepreneur, then you've got to put yourselves in those circles, because we do think differently. We will take a risk. If you're
and the thinking rubs off on you, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you're trying to talk, your parents are lovely, but if you're trying to talk to your parents and your mum and dad have fought really hard to secure a job and put a roof over your head, then they're not going to understand why you want to take a risk. And nowadays, you can easily, within 15 minutes, you could easily find somebody to go and talk to. And I don't know what the organisations are in the UK, but I know in Wales, things like Big Ideas, I keep saying Big Ideas Wales is for under 25s. But there is there are some Welsh government agencies that will signpost you and give you mentors and stuff if you were looking for them.
So there's hope for us yet. Then you and I, we might be able to get in that under 25s thing.
Oh, don't. I have to, when I was at an event recently in Cross Keys campus, and I had to keep these two women, I wanted to give them a hug. These two women who were very similar in age to me had just enrolled on a massage holistic therapy course. And one of them said, oh, it's something I've always wanted to do and I've never been brave enough to do it. And I had to, we couldn't support them because of I was there for the under 25s. Right. I did go around the room and find a leaflet off somebody else. It's like, you need to be speaking to these people because they are, and like, we're both up for this award, and the team there, they do loads as well. Sometimes people think the people who are running the Great Entrepreneur British Awards, that's all they're doing. But actually, if you look at that organisation, they do loads. They do workshops, they've got connections, they've got mentoring schemes, they're part of Ideas Fest.
There's a lot out there.
There is a lot out there.
Brilliant tonight. I could just chat to you for all night. Is that all right? I mean, I don't know. The people listening might be a bit tired. I was just going to say,
but yeah, when we get to Grosvenor House on the 18th of November, we'll be like, hiya! Just sit your partners down with bottles of wine and go, you sit there, exactly. Me and Simon are going to have a chat.
Absolutely. Little chat in the corner. So, Shamaine, nobody gets off the Change Show without sharing the track that they'd like to add to the Change Show playlist. So what is it for you? Is it something that's maybe helped you along the journey, been really pivotal, or just reminds you of something amazing? It's entirely up to you. What track would you like to add?
It's funny you should ask me this question, because I'm speaking on stage in October and I've just changed my track because I've got to walk onto a track. So I've just emailed them over the weekend and said, can I change it to Unstoppable by Sia? And yeah, you've got to listen to the 30 seconds into it. Okay. Yeah, I do like Unstoppable by Sia.
Thank you, Shamaine. We shall add that one. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure to have a laugh with you this
afternoon. Nice to talk to you again.
Yeah. Look after yourself. Do come and tell us how you got on the at the awards. That'll be fun.
I'll be the one clapping for Simon. Yeah, my money's on you, or oh god, I can't think of the other person in our category.
Oh, the other person doesn't matter then.
Yeah, the other person doesn't matter. I'll have banners printed. Go Simon! Go Simon!
Hey. Thank you, Shamaine.
Thank you.
You've been listening to The Change Show with Simon Phillips and my hugely special guest, Shamaine Lei-Robinson. It's been a real laugh, a real fun afternoon. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here again next week. Take care.